Has it ever happened to you that you walk into a room and completely blank out? You open your phone and can't remember who you were about to call, or someone introduces themselves and 5 minutes later their name has already vanished from your mind. That unsettling feeling, like a thick fog settling between your thoughts, actually has a name even if it's not in your GP's pamphlet: brain fog. And the most frustrating part? No one warned you, no one told you this could be part of menopause, that your mind could start to feel like an overloaded computer, trying to open 10 tabs at once without crashing. What's curious is that many women don't link it to hormones. We think we're just stressed, not sleeping enough, juggling too much at once, but there's a deeper element that rarely gets mentioned. Changes in your estrogen levels directly affect your brain chemistry. And it's not just about memory, it also impacts your focus, your decision-making, even your creativity. Suddenly, tasks you used to do on autopilot now feel like climbing a mountain. And if no one explains what's going on, it's easy to start doubting yourself. Plenty of women begin to believe they're losing brain power, that something must be wrong with their minds. And what's really unfair is that instead of receiving understanding, they get pressure. Be more organized, pay more attention. You're getting really forgetful. As if you're not already trying your hardest. As if you're not fighting an invisible exhaustion and a fog you can't even put into words. And then, of course, comes the fear. The fear of slipping up at work, of your kids noticing you're slower, of your partner thinking you're distracted or no longer interested. But here's the truth. What's happening to you isn't laziness or lack of motivation or aging. It's a stage, a deep transformation that affects not just your body but your mind. And once you understand that, once you stop blaming yourself and start looking at yourself with more compassion, it doesn't feel quite so terrifying, because now you know you're not alone and you're not losing your mind. You're going through something that countless women experience. They just don't talk about it. That silence is part of the problem. Because no one talks openly about brain fog, you end up swallowing it alone. You think you're the only one forgetting appointments, misplacing your keys, or feeling too slow to reply to an email. But no, this is far more common than you think. The issue is, because there's no blood, no fever, no clear diagnosis, it becomes invisible, as if it doesn't hurt, as if it doesn't affect you. But it does. It affects your self-esteem, your confidence, your relationships, and the brain doesn't work separately from the rest of your body. When you've had a poor night's sleep, your attention scatters. When anxiety creeps in, your brain goes into survival mode and only processes threats. When your hormones are up and down, your ability to focus takes a roller coaster ride with them. So no, your memory isn't broken. It's simply asking for help, for a break, for a change of pace. That's why it's so important to stop holding yourself to the same standards as before. Not because you're not capable, you absolutely are, but because you're changing. And that means you need new tools, new rhythms, a different lens through which to see yourself. Sometimes something as simple as taking a few deep breaths before the day starts can already make a difference. Giving yourself 5 quiet minutes to jot down what you're feeling, what you dreamed, what's weighing on you. Not to fix everything, but just to offload that mental hard drive you're carrying around. Because you're not a robot. You're a woman in the middle of transformation, and that deserves care, not punishment. Before we continue, something important. In the description of this video, I've left a resource that could really help you through this stage. It's something several women are starting to use and are seeing real changes. If you're curious, have a look later. It might be just what you need. One of the most powerful things you can do during this stage is to stop comparing yourself to the woman you were 10 years ago, because that version of you is no longer here. And that's not a loss, it's evolution. You don't need to remember every appointment or complete every task without breathing. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is give yourself permission to rest, a slower day, a gentle yes to yourself. Because the more you pressure yourself to perform like before, the more you block your natural ability to adapt. And that's where the trap lies, in believing that if you're not functioning like before, you're failing, when in truth, you're just shedding a skin. Another key point that hardly anyone mentions is your internal dialogue, Those phrases you repeat without noticing, "I'm stupid, I can't do this anymore, I'm getting worse." They pierce you like invisible needles, and over time, you start to believe them. But there's another way to speak to yourself, one that doesn't deny what you're going through, but holds you with kindness. "I'm tired, but I'm still here. It's hard to focus today, but I'm doing what I can. My worth isn't based on what I remember, but on who I am." Changing the narrative isn't just a nice idea, it's a tool for mental self-care. And yes, there are practical ways to ease the fog. Moving your body every day, even for just 10 minutes, boosts blood flow to the brain and supports memory. Going for a walk, dancing in the kitchen, stretching by the window. It's not about training like an athlete. It's about reminding your body that it's alive, that it can still move with pleasure. Feeding your brain helps too. Good fats, antioxidants, magnesium, foods that don't just nourish but help repair. But beyond the biology, there's the emotional, and that needs nourishment too. When was the last time you talked to someone about what you're really feeling? Not the surface stuff, the real weight inside. The fear of being seen as confused, the exhaustion of pretending everything's fine. Speaking to a friend, a therapist, or even yourself in the mirror can help release that pressure, because often what we call fog is actually accumulation of responsibilities, of silence, of expectations that no longer fit you. And here's something else, a truth few people say aloud. This stage can become an internal revolution, because when your mind stops being as efficient as it once was, it forces you to feel more, to stop running, to ask yourself what you want to keep and what no longer has a place. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it can also be liberating, like a necessary pruning so that other things can grow, because not everything you forget is a loss. Sometimes it's your mind letting go of what you no longer need. There are women who discover new passions at 52, who write their first book, who start painting again, who quit a job that no longer reflects who they are. And they don't do it with the mental clarity of their 20s. They do it with the courage to become someone new, even when everything around them is pushing them to stay the same. And that truly is the most powerful thing about this phase, that despite the fog, you might reconnect with parts of yourself that were asleep. So if today you forgot where you left your glasses, if you struggled to string thoughts together or froze mid-sentence, don't be hard on yourself. It's your body asking for a new way to exist in the world, a softer way, a truer way, a more present way. The world will keep demanding speed, productivity, efficiency, but you can choose something else. You can choose to tend to your mind like a garden, with patience, with care, with the quiet certainty that even on cloudy days, life is still blooming inside. And if you forget everything, don't forget this. You are not alone. You're in transition. And what you're going through is not a flaw, it's a phase. And like all phases, it will pass. But while it lasts, you deserve to be supported, to be heard, to be held without rush, to be reminded, when you can't do it yourself, that you are still you. Even if your memory falters, even if the words slip away, even if the world doesn't understand, you do. You are rebuilding yourself.